Hi, everyone. This is Aaron Masliansky, and I just wanted to take a minute to introduce this next episode of Inside the Skev. I'm going to be speaking with Marnie Dawson from Dawson Relocation Company, and what she does is help people with move management, so packing, figuring out where your things are going to go, downsizing, decluttering, whatever you need, because it can be a big process, and she can make it a lot simpler for you. And I thought with it being almost spring, I think a lot of people might be thinking about moving or selling their home at this time of the year. So it would be really helpful to hear what she has to say. So please enjoy. Welcome to Inside the Skev, and I'm your host, Aaron Masliansky. Today we're here with Marnie Dawson from Dawson Relocation, and Marnie is a move manager, and we've worked together for years. So even before being in real estate, working for First Class Moving and Storage, Marnie has worked with a lot of our customers there, and Marnie's been a huge resource for my clients and for a lot of people inside the Skev. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Aaron.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. So what actually do you do as a move manager? What does that mean?
I knew that would be the first question. So as a move manager, the short answer is we help people with the downsizing and moving process. That means we get in their homes when somebody's thinking about moving and help them kind of understand that the moving process and what needs to be done, and then help them go through their home and figure out what will fit in their new home, as well as, if they'd like us to, help them dig through their closets and attics and basements and sort out all the things that will move with them, and then help them figure out what to do with the things that won't move with them. That's sort of the first part. And the second part is we actually help with the move process, packing, being there on move day, speaking mover, which is its own language, and then helping with the unpack setup process at their new home so they can transition as quickly as possible.
You know, and some people don't realize it's the moving companies, they're just moving the stuff. So there's a lot more that goes into it that you are helping. Those items are not things that moving companies include. And, you know, how did you get into this? What got you to think about being a move manager?
I've always been the person people called on to help them with things, figure things out. And I was at a place in my life where I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to be when I grew up. And one day driving to work on the radio, I heard a piece about senior move management. And when I got to work, yes, I did. I went on the internet and looked up the article and found the National Association of Senior Move Managers. At that point, I realized they had a class 2 weeks later in Chicago, of all the places in the entire world, and took the class and fell in love with the idea of it's a beautiful process of helping people, of project management, and it just drew me right in immediately.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about helping people. I mean, why do you think it's so hard for people to move? What are the things that block that process from happening?
Well, there's actually been a number of studies done on the things that we own. And when you're thinking about the things you own, you start to think about the concept of moving and having to, especially if you're moving someplace smaller, if you're going from a home you've lived in 50 years, 20 years, to a condo, a one-bedroom, two-bedroom condo, or maybe senior living, you start to look around and see how much stuff you have. And it's really, what do you do with my stuff, that becomes so overwhelming for people. And the studies have shown that there's something that's called possession paralysis, that the concept of even just dealing with your stuff is so overwhelming that you just stop in your tracks and you don't even think about moving.
Yeah.
So hopefully a move manager can help you get in there and start to, instead of looking at this overwhelming pile, help you kind of look at each piece and start to figure out a plan.
Yeah, I mean, do you see that cloud of anxiety leaving people once you start working on it?
It does. It's kind of fascinating. You get in and you start a plan and you kind of create a system, and instead of this big, large mountain, it kind of becomes little rocks you pull away and you kind of investigate and work your way through. And you can work room by room, piece by piece, and you get through the puzzle, and people can move. Sometimes it takes, we can do it quickly in a week or two, and sometimes it can take months to do that process.
What makes it go from a week or two to months? What's the difference in time?
Sometimes it's just deadlines. You have to make it, and you rip off the Band-Aid and you go as fast as you can. Other times some people need to be methodical and touch everything in their home, and that's part of our job to figure out how to help people navigate that. So if you're somebody who wants to examine each thing and make a decision on every item, that's an important process, and we can help you with that. And other times you just sort of have to say, this is what's going, and we have to pick the 10 best towels and the coffee cups with no chips and get things moving along.
Yeah. And what do you do with the things that people don't take?
That's a good question. There are lots of answers. One is we talk to the family and friends and see if they want anything, or see if the parent or the grandparent wants to gift items to people. If that's not the case, then there are auction houses and dealers who would like to buy some of your items. And then we also can donate them and find good charities where they can have another good lifetime of use out of it. And there's also some junk. No matter what we do, no matter who we are, we all have some shredding, some trash, some recyclables. And there are actually great junk haulers out there who'll take that stuff away for you.
Yeah, and I mean, if you don't want to or are not able to really help physically with a lot of these things, you can help them with everything with this process, right?
Yeah, we can come in and be sort of a consultation, kind of plan for everything with you and kind of check in on you once a week and make sure you're on track. Or we can actually I'm often covered in cobwebs and dust, digging around, trying to find, help you sort through things and pulling things down from top shelves for people.
Yeah. Do you ever help with estate sales, or how does that work?
Typically, my clients don't have enough left in their homes after they move for an estate sale. So, but if we do have estate sale companies we can refer to. Part of my job is to know who the right people are to connect along the way. So if an estate sale is the right thing, we'll find that company for you. If not, there are auction houses, there are antique dealers, there's ways to sell things through community online platforms that we can at least sell the cream of what you own.
Yeah. Sometimes people think that they are going to do an estate sale, everything is worth, a lot of money. And certainly they may have paid a lot of money for it back when they purchased it. I've worked with a lot of people who are, of all age groups, and sometimes it was a really big thing when they got married. Maybe it was 50, 60 years ago. They got a dining room set for their wedding. And it has huge sentimental value to them, and it cost a lot of money when it was purchased. But then you go to look at it, you try to sell it, and it may not have that value anymore. How do you help somebody through that type of process? Because that could be psychologically difficult to deal with.
A large part of what we do deals with that psychological piece of it. So we talk a lot about finding ways to honor the pieces that are being let go, remembering that this dining room set did cost a lot of money 20, 30 years ago, and you were able to take on 20, 30 years of wonderful memories that came with that. And making sure there's some photographs of the family around the dining room table that you hold on to, doing things so that we remember that emotional value that came from it, and then trying to find ways to find a good home for it, whether it's selling it or donating it to somebody or finding a neighborhood, a person starting off who would like part of it. Keeping dining room sets together is kind of hard to do at this point in time because we don't entertain in the same way we used to as a culture. I've also been known to repurpose parts of dining room sets, taking the china cabinet and putting it in an apartment and using the top for decorative items, but then it's a smaller apartment with not a lot of storage, and we might turn the bottom part into a linen closet. So finding creative reuses, or using the buffet as a television stand instead of a buffet in a new apartment. So finding ways to honor the furniture that people really want to hold on to.
And what about things like, people may have stuffed animals or different things that they've kept for a long time, dolls, and it may not fit in their new place where they're going. What are some ways to keep that memory alive? Do you take photos of it, or?
Photographs are one good way to do it. Finding good homes for it, whether it's gifting it to somebody or able to sell it. And then sometimes you can just keep one of a collection or two. So if somebody has a large collection of things, identifying the best pieces of that collection and holding on to just a couple of them so that you can kind of represent the collection and not give up the whole idea.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you, when you're working with somebody and let's say they're getting their house ready to sell, do you recommend that do you work with them before the house goes on the market to help get it ready? Or do you mainly come in and pack everything up once the house is sold and they're moving out?
Ideally, we would help them with the beginning of the process, because a lot of times in order to put your home on the market, you kind of need to stage your home. And as every good real estate agent comes in, says you need to declutter, you need to get rid of your photographs, in order to create a better environment for selling your home. So if we're able to come in early, we can help. As we pack things up for the staging process, we're helping you plan ahead for what will go to the new place, so we don't have to do that process twice. We can be there at the beginning. But we can come in after, with the house is closing in 30 days, we got to go. We'll jump in and help you with that.
Yeah. At what point should somebody call you?
The sooner the better. Because if you're thinking about moving in 2 years, we can help you kind of create a plan and check on you and make sure you're moving in that forward trajectory. A lot of people say, I can't have you come in until I've done A, B, C, D. And that becomes kind of a challenge because it took a long time to get to where you are now, and A, B, C, D might never get done. And then all of a sudden you're at a deadline. So the earlier the better. But don't be afraid to call a week before you're moving if you need some help, because sometimes we can help with that too.
Oh, for sure. You guys have moved mountains. But you're one person, so do you have a staff?
I call us a small but mighty team. There are 7 of us right now that all help with this process. We're all, they're part of the team. We're trained. We all kind of understand what the emotional aspects of this and what people are going through, and are ready to jump in and help.
Yeah. And are there times I know for my business, spring gets really busy, like right now, and it tapers off in certain parts of the year. I assume that's very similar to how you see things.
We do have some busier times. It sort of ebbs and flows, but because a lot of times people's decision to move is not necessarily based on time of year. It might be based on a spouse passing away or some sort of medical emergency that came up. Somebody fell for the 3rd time and they need to move to a safer environment. We are called in by families to to help with the process all year round.
Yeah. And do you mainly work with seniors, or do you work with other people too in different age groups?
Our core clientele are, I don't know what the word senior means anymore.
Right.
Our core clientele are people who are leaving their home of a certain length of time and heading probably someplace a little smaller. So whether they're empty nesters leaving their home heading to a condo, or somebody in their 80s or 90s leaving their home heading to assisted living or independent living. We do have a few busy professionals who bring us in to help with the process as well. But really, it's people who are downsizing on some level.
But my God, that must make it so much easier if you're a busy professional and you don't have time to figure out all that stuff and you're going to another house. You could...
Delegation.
It really. And, I think it's a huge service to people. And, some people are fortunate to be able to be able to hire you to do that. And it's not necessarily like a necessity in a situation where it's an emergency, but it's something that could really make the whole process. And, for anybody, moving is more stressful than dying, right?
It is definitely on the top stressors of life, yes.
Yeah. So if you start to take some of these stressors away, it starts to make things, possible, right?
Absolutely. And having people who've done it, I've been doing it now 11 years. I kind of hope I know a few things about how the process works. We can eliminate phone calls and think about things like street parking permits and elevator times and things that if you've never moved in your life, where to buy boxes and packing tape, all those things, we kind of just come with that in our back pocket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of logistics that go on when you're moving. And, having been in the industry and being a real estate agent, I have an intimate knowledge of it. And it's cumbersome. And if you have somebody like yourself working on it, my God, it just, it really makes it easy. As the baby boomer population ages and, people move, and do you see that this industry is going to really grow a lot?
I know in the time that I've been doing it, the National Association of Senior Move Managers has gone from about 400 people to thousands of members at this point. It is something that is definitely growing. New people are coming in. There are small companies like myself as well as large companies that are creating a different aspect to the industry. It is definitely something that is growing, the need.
Yeah. And when you have such growth, sometimes you get a little bit of slack of people coming through. So what does the industry do to regulate or certify people to make sure that they actually know what they're doing? Absolutely.
The National Association of Senior Move Managers, one of just the general requirements of being a member is that you must have insurance, a professional and business liability policy. Beyond that, we offer, as I say we because I've been involved for 11 years, one of the things is a certification in senior move management, which means there are education classes, courses on ethics, on how to write a contract, on how to help understand dementia and other aging issues. So that's one part, is a certification program. There's also an accreditation program that's part of the association, and part of that is making sure that you actually have a well-structured business. That's making sure you have operations handbooks and policies and procedures, and so sort of your back office, and you're not just somebody who put up a shingle one day and said, hey, I want to help you move.
Right. Well, it gives people confidence that you know what you're doing. And, same thing also in real estate. There's a certification called SRES for Seniors Real Estate Specialists through the National Association of Realtors. And I actually have the certification, or it's a designation to be technical about it. But it's also educating the realtor to know how to best help people who are seniors and how to refer people like yourself and know what to do and make it easier for people so they are taken well care of, as I'd want to be, and where there's a lot more ease throughout the process. And I think it's important that we have these things to certify that people know what they're doing.
Absolutely. And I forgot to mention that the National Association of Senior Move Manager leads with a strict code of ethics for the association.
Yeah. And I mean, so have you, as you've done this, you've done it since 2008, right?
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel a huge sense of accomplishment that you've been helping so many people? I mean, how many people have you helped?
Last count, we'd helped about 500 families in that time. And I say families because sometimes we're brought in by adult children who are helping their parents and they're a bit they don't have the time and energy to do the process to help them navigate it, or sometimes they don't have the knowledge base of how they're not organized people, they're not people who live here and have resources, so having a move manager just helps with the process. But yes, I love doing what we do. It's great I kind of look at things as puzzles, and we can walk in and we see the puzzle and I can create a plan and help implement that plan, and it does feel good to help people and know at the end of the day, a day or two after they move in, their boxes are unpacked, things are put away, and they can start their new life.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
It really is. And the team of women that work with me are amazing, and we're all kind of like, wow, look what we accomplished today. It feels good.
Are there days where it's more challenging?
Oh, always. Because some moves are not by choice. Some moves are just emotionally stressful. Some moves are, even if they are by choice, still are hard for people. And we're there to hold their hand and cry with them and just do our best to make it a little easier.
Yeah. What happens, I mean, how do you help people who have dementia when they move and they're in a new place, and it could be disorienting, right? How do you help with that to make it somewhat more stable for them?
A lot of what we do is in those situations is try to recreate as much as possible. When you're going from a home to 2 rooms, that's hard to do. But when I walk in somebody's home, I can sort of see, we all have places in our home that we live and we travel more often. Even if you have a home with 5 bedrooms and a dining room and a formal living room, there's still sort of your normal path of existence within that home. The chair you like to sit in, I call them their throne, the side of the bed that you sleep on, what you use in the kitchen. So if we can kind of create some of those patterns, at least, if not, like making sure when we set the bed up in the home that they're going to get in and out on the same side of the bed, things that'll make that transition a little easier. If they do have a chair that's their favorite chair, trying to incorporate that into the space in a way that's similar. We do a lot of recreating art on the walls so that it feels the same. So as much recreating as possible.
Yeah. And is there a time of day that you do the move? Because I remember sometimes we'd move people and try to time it when the people were at a meal. So when they are done with the meal, they come back and the new place is already set up.
Yeah. One of my rules is you always start at the beginning of the day with the moving company. You never get an afternoon move.
Good call.
You start with and we'll typically go in the day before and pack everything up in preparation so that come the morning of the move, we can just jump in and get going. And then and I also like to get big teams for moves because we want to make sure there's a lot of people moving quickly to make that move process happen so that we can have everything unpacked and set up by 5 or 6 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm. That's always the goal.
Always my goal.
Yeah. Do you typically have or how many people do you typically have on the move? Because yes, you may have people packing beforehand and decluttering and all that, but how many people are there with the moving company?
The morning of the move, there's one or two. It depends on how big. If we're talking a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom move, that's one thing. If we're talking a studio, it's different.
Sure.
But there's always one person managing the move throughout the process. That means their job is to greet the movers, be with them direct them on what's going, what's not going, just kind of be the spokesperson for the day, so that if the client leaves and goes and has lunch or runs an errand or two, they're responsible for making sure everything happens. And then once the truck and the movers arrive at the new place, then the team, depending on how large of an unpack it is, will arrive immediately and start helping with that unpack process. And we have tricks to stay out of the way of the movers as much as possible, so they get their stuff, they get their items in and get things set up, and they can leave and we'll stay and unpack. But we're also there with floor plans, so we know exactly where the furniture's going. And we're there watching, knowing, before I even start unloading a box off the moving truck, before the movers start unloading a box off the moving.
Yeah, you don't touch any of that on the truck.
I know where I want to put the boxes so that the movers only have to set things down once and they don't have to move things around a lot.
Well, and then, that's important because, moving companies charge on an hourly basis. So if you know where things are going immediately, it can cut a lot of what the cost is. So yes, there's a cost for your service, as you should be paid, and but you're helping bring a lot of value, and some of it's monetary, a lot of it is the ease, but I think that's really key for people to recognize, because if you're not in that industry, you don't realize it necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't know how much having a mover only place something down once saves so much time, rather than having to move this set of boxes 3 times throughout the course of a morning.
Right. It's interesting. When I moved the last time, I decided, I'm going to pack all my own stuff because I had time, but then I had the movers help me unpack and get stuff, set up more so, because at that point you just want to be living your life again. And, I think that, like we said before, it's like you're done, you're unpacked, you're ready to go. That part is over. The phase is over. It's such a relief. It's awesome.
I know when I moved, I hired my team to come help me unpack and set up.
Yeah.
It's just easier.
It's so much easier. And also, when we're talking about packing, you guys know how to pack, and there's a real method to it. When you're packing dishes, glasses, fragile items, you need to know what you're doing, or else those things can break. And I think there's definitely an art and a skill to that, right?
Absolutely. We also pack with the intention of unpacking. So we're doing things like labeling what drawers things come out of, so we can put them right back in the same drawers, and that for silly enough as it says, your underwear's in the same place it's always been, and your socks are where they've always been. Because yes, you do have to empty dressers to move them.
Yes, you do need to empty them, people.
That's my number one question.
Right.
Do I have to empty my dressers?
And the reason why you need to empty them is because things shift, and it makes it a lot heavier to carry. And if you can make it lighter for the mover, there's less chance of things getting damaged.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Think of the people carrying it, and I think but if you can know where it's going to go right afterwards, that makes it so much easier. That's the easiest thing to pack.
It is. And like I said, we pack and we label what drawers items come out of, and we put them right back in when we're unpacking in the same drawers. Yeah. But yes, we also do extensive training on packing so that we don't break your items during the move.
That is important. So when people first call you, do you come out for a consultation? Is there a charge for that, or do you give an estimate for what you think the costs are going to be for the whole job?
Oh, I want to go meet you in your home and see what you have going on. So I come out, for no charge, spend about an hour with you, walk around your home, talk about what needs to be done, what your plans are. even if you don't know where you're moving, just kind of walk through that process and talk about what would need to happen. And then I'll go back and write a proposal that outlines all the various costs that could come up. And then at that point, you would decide if you'd like to hire my company to help with the move.
And then also one thing is you have really good relationships with a lot of the buildings in the area, whether it be apartment buildings, condo, or like an independent or assisted living facility, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've in 11 years we've been in a lot of buildings, so we know a lot of people.
Clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean that's key because you need to know what the elevator times are, who the property managers are, what the requirements are for doing moves in those buildings.
Absolutely. And that's one of the, once we know where you're headed, we can help navigate all of that and make sure you get everything lined up.
Yeah. Do you even help with like setting up utilities or pointing people in the right direction?
Helping people get the process done and making sure they did make the phone calls, yes. It's hard to do those as an agent for somebody else.
Sure.
So, but yeah, we do help make sure all the things are set up and in place.
Oh, God, what a pleasure you provide to people. Where can people find you online or social media, things like that?
So my website is dawsonrelocation.com, and my Facebook page is Dawson Relocation Services. I can't remember if it has an Inc. or not. Oh, that's awful.
But there's a link on your website for it.
There's definitely a link on the website, yes.
Yeah. And what is your number that people can call or email?
My phone number is 847-922-6143, and email is info, at dawsonrelocation.com.
That's great. Thank you for doing what you do.
Oh, it's my honor to be able to do it. I feel so honored to help people with that process. We talked a lot about moving, but the downsizing is wonderful to be able to help.
Yeah, it gets people to be able to kind of free their mind because they're able to free themselves from all these things that they have.
Yes, we have to build the giving away muscle.
We do. Well, Marnie, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thanks, everybody, for listening. Hi, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this latest episode of Inside the Skev. And if this episode helped you understand how it can make it a lot easier for you to get your house downsized and ready to move, and it's a little bit of an easier process than you thought, you need some help with selling your home, I can certainly help you do that. I'm a real estate agent over at Dreamtown Realty in Evanston. And you could find out more information at skevinston.com or email me at aaron@skevinston.com. And thanks so much for listening, and please subscribe.